Welcome to my humble abode, darlings. Come in out of the rain and get comfortable. I have a story to tell you, and I hope you enjoy. If you do, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hello, my darlings. I'm only doing 2 videos this week because when you get to my age, you end up doing more than one Thanksgiving dinner in the week. And I am doing another HuntAlex story because he's been sharing such wonderful stories in my subreddit. I have some great scare-in-the-box stories on deck too. They just take a little more time, so I hope you don't mind another story from Alexander Hunt. This time, the Greymere Sea fiend. Folk cryptozoological horror. The North Sea wind lashed across the jagged cliffs as Alden Vexley stepped down from the rattling coach. He was a naturalist, a junior member of the Linnean Society arriving in the coastal village of Greymere. He was a tall gentleman of 35, bespectacled with a notebook, perpetually in hand and leather satchel worn smoothly from years in the field. The air was raw with salt and with the stench of fish rot and kelp. The sky above a bruised smear of gray. Before him stretched the village of Greymere, a huddle of slate-roofed cottages and crooked chimneys, leaning like drunks towards the wind. The village lay along a wind-scoured inlet, where gannets and puffins nested high in the cliffs, and black-backed gulls scavenged among the shingle beach. He adjusted his spectacles and tightened his scarf. Behind him, the driver gave a grunt, tossed his luggage to the gravel, and left without a word. Alden stood alone. The village did not welcome visitors. Windows shuttered against the cold offered no light. Children peeked from behind doorways, only to vanish again when their parents pulled them back. The only motion was a black-backed gull picking at something limp on the beach. A bloated sheep carcass, torn throat, legs splayed like driftwood. Alden frowned. "Storm surge," said a thin voice behind him. Mrs. Fenwick, the innkeeper, stood at the top of worn stone step. A severe woman with hair drawn tight beneath a bonnet. She offered no greeting, just a sharp nod and a key. "Room's warm. Supper at 6. Keep your window latched." He followed her inside, ducking beneath the low lintel. The inn smelled of coal, tallow, and damp wool. Above the hearth, a bleached whale's vertebrae hung like a crown. Beside it, nailed like a trophy, was something more disturbing, a long curved tooth, too large to be belonging to any carnivore nation to the British Isles. "Found that up on Gullet Rock," Miss Fenwick said when she saw his stare. "Don't ask what it came from, not if you want to sleep tonight." She left him with that and disappeared into the kitchen. Alden sat in his room that evening, his satchel of field books and specimen jars untouched. Instead, he watched the sea through warped glass. It churned restlessly against the rocks. Gannets wheeled far out beyond the foam. A sharp cry broke the air. Not gull nor seal, but something deeper. A bark? A roar? He didn't know. Below the window, villagers gathered briefly on the beach. They left a bundle tied with coarse twine on a flat stone, a fish carcass, a broken crab trap, and a tuft of sheep's wool. An offering. The wind carried their voices up to him in scraps. "Keep it fed. Not since Watson. Watch the tides." At night, Alden dreamed of wet stone, long shadows and something watching from beneath the waves. The next day, Alden walked the cliffs, taking the chance to spot for common dolphins, otters, a couple of rabbits on the moor, and even some velvet swimming crabs, hiding under the rock, in the far distance, a dorsal slice of a basking shark. He jotted it all diligently, but nothing matched the tales he'd heard. So far, nothing. Later in the evening, he decided to get better acquainted with the locals by chatting over a pint. The tavern, by the name of the Merry Seahorse, was a little more than a driftwood box with ale and stout. Its sign, a blue seahorse with its prehensile tail, wrapped around the handle of an ale mug, and the fire inside spat more smoke than warmth. Alden stepped in just after dusk, chased by the bitter sea breeze and rising sense of unease. Inside, silence fell. Not total beer mugs still clinking, and the hearth hissed, but the hush was thick with unspoken thought. Villagers huddled in booths, shoulders turned, eyes flickered like candlelight. Only one man met Alden's gaze. He was massive, bearded, with leather apron still dusted in ash and iron flakes. "Toller Rig," the man said gruffly. "You're the naturalist, then, the London man." Alden offered a polite smile. "I'm here on bequest of the Linnean Society. Rumors of a unique pinniped off the coast drew my attention. Might be a new species of phosid, perhaps a vagrant from the North Pole." "Pardon, lad? Pinniped? Phosid? What in God's green earth are you on about?" Rig questioned, raising an eyebrow.
"Oh, pardon me, sir," the naturalist quickly corrected himself. "As in seals." Toller leaned forward. "You think the sea fiend is a bloody seal?" Chuckles rippled through the tavern, not mocking, but nervous. Across the room, an old woman stopped, knitting mid-row. She stared at Alden with wet, milk-clouded eyes. "Does a seal take a sheep?" she asked softly. Alden hesitated. "Well, it's possible. The local gray seal, while mostly eating seafood like sand eels, herring, lobster, and octopi, will occasionally prey on harbor porpoises and even its cousin, the harbor seal. A stray lamb would be easy pickings." "What about dogs?" asked another voice, younger, tense. "Grown dogs?" "Children?" asked the old woman. A hush fell again. The bartender spoke quiet but clear. "Last month, Elsie Crow's spaniel went out onto the shore after dusk. Next morning she found his collar 30 feet up the rock, snapped clean through. No body, just a trail of wet drag marks back to the surf. The beast you're after goes by many names," Toller said. "Sea wolf, surf phantom, Poseidon's hound, but the most common name the folks refer this demon is sea fiend. They say this monster howls," murmured a lobster fisherman. "Not like a dog or a wolf. Like something drowning, but angry about it." Toller grunted. "There's bones in the cave they call the Black Maw. Some human, some not." All nod. Alden scribbled notes furiously. "But surely no one's ever seen." "Oh, we've seen it, dear," said the old woman. "Once. 1872. An old lobster fisherman by the name of Brendan O'Malley. Poor boy went fishing one night down by the coast. Said he would be back in a few hours. Later on that night, we heard him screaming bloody murder. He was found in pieces, most gnawed or pecked away by the gulls and crabs. That's when the offerings began." "Livestock?" Alden asked. "At first, but some say the sea takes what it wants." The room turned out again. Then the wind howled low through the chimney and a child cried out from the street. Alden closed his notebook slowly. The night carried as each villager told tales of the sea fiend. One said it was a crude, brought on by a sea witch who was burned on a stake. Some say it was the spirit of a slain seals out for revenge, and one boy claimed the beast to be the Selkie's familiar. Closing time came, and with that, Alden wished everyone a good evening. "Remember this, Mr. Exley," said in a warning tone. The sea takes what the land won't bury.
That night, lying on his narrow bed beneath a ceiling streaked with salt and smoke, he watched his candle gutter and fade. A dog wouldn't stop barking throughout the middle of the night. From the shingle beach, something answered. Far off over the waves came a deep, inhuman sound, a yawning roar that shook the panes. The next morning came with a decent breakfast of kippers and scrambled eggs on the table waiting for him. Mrs. Fenwick laid it out with the mechanical care of someone who performed the same task for decades. She didn't speak at first, just watched him with unreadable eyes. "You're quiet today," said Alden, pouring tea into a cracked porcelain cup. "Some days," she said, "you keep quiet so the sea don't hear ya." Alden paused, spoon halfway to his mouth. "Is that a superstition? Or is that a threat?" Miss Fenwick didn't smile. "It's survival." He finished his meal in silence, writing notes by the window. Outside, herring gulls circled and the grass swayed like water. On the stone path beyond the yard, a young boy lingered, arms behind his back. The child crept up cautiously, face grubby, clothes too big, clearly handed down. "You're the beast man?" he asked, eyes wide. "I study animals, yes," Alden replied, kneeling. "Do you know of one?" The boy nodded. "It walks like this." And he, behind his back, he presented something to Alden. A drawing, done in charcoal and red crayon. The beast. It had a long, sinewy body, 4 flippered limbs, and a canid-like face with too many teeth. Above it was scrawled in the child's block letters, "Sea-wolf." Alden took it with care. "Did you see this?" The boy only shrugged, then ran off. As he turned to show Mrs. Fenwick, she stepped forward, snatched the drawing from his hands, and threw it directly into the fireplace. The flames hissed, black smoke curling up the edges of the burning paper. "That's not for remembering," she said, her voice cold, "and not for you." Alden stared at the fire, startled. He might have seen something. This could help identify. "It's not something you identify," she snapped. "It's something you avoid, and we'd all do better if you left it be." Alden said nothing more, but in his journal that night he copied the image from memory. Later he walked the village again. A goat carcass had washed ashore, half-eaten, throat crushed. Children no longer played by the cliff. The gulls screamed less. The air felt heavier. And somewhere, behind the chapel, a prayer bell tolled once, then stopped. The wind howled that evening, rattling the shutters of Mrs. Fenwick's cottage. Alden could not sleep. The image of the child's drawing burned behind his eyes. The beast has shape now, not just shadow, not just story. The boy had seen it. Others had too. He packed provisions before dawn. Lantern, notebook, knife, rope, and his field revolver, a last-minute addition, slipped into his coat with his trembling hand. The cliff of Greymere were swathed in fog by the time he descended, the wind briny and raw. Gulls wheeled low, their cries muted and skittish. The sea was strangely calm, too calm, as though it held its breath. He passed a rabbit warren, several bucks and does frozen as if carved in stone. One twitched its ears, but didn't flee. Something had changed in the very air. Then, at the far curve of the cove, beneath an arch of balsate teeth, he saw it. The black maw. Not the black maw the children whispered about. This one was lower, nearer the shore, half submerged, accessible only during low tide. It exhaled a slow, fetid breath of spoondrift and decay. Alden lit his lantern and stepped in. The walls closed around him like a throat. Dripping water echoed through the tunnel. The deeper he went, the more the cave widened, almost unnaturally smooth. The scent of dead fish, musk and wet fur filled the air.
He slipped twice on slick stone, nearly cracked his lantern. Then, in the heart of the darkness, he found them. Bones. Hundreds crab-picked, sea-bleached sheep skulls, vertebrae of gray and harbor seals, even antlers from a long-lost red deer. But there were human remains, too. A boot, a child's toy, waterlogged and gnawed, fingernails scratched into stone. He crouched near a wall, running his hand across the strange gouges. Not natural erosion, but something by claw marks, etched in wide, sweeping arcs. Then came a sound, a low, resonant, guttural sound, unlike anything Alden had ever heard. It rolled across the water behind him like a promise. He turned, and there it was. Emerging from the black pool at the back of the cave, massive and silent, came the Greymere Sea fiend. It looked almost like a leopard seal, but larger, twice the size, with longer forelimbs, each ending in thick claws. Its body undulated with muscle, its slick fur a patchwork of gray and mottled white. But its head was wrong, elongated with wolfish features, a thick snout, and small, forward-facing ears. He backed away slowly, slipping on shale, heart in his throat. He whispered, trembling, as if naming it could shield him. The Lasilicus obscurus, a name he made up in that moment. Dark sea wolf. God help him if that was real. The beast lunged. Alden fired once, the shot echoing like thunder. The faucet shrieked, a sound between a seal and a demon, and vanished into the water with a crash. He fled blindly, stumbling out into the pale morning light, his coat soaked and stinking, knees bleeding, eyes haunted. Back in the village, he tried to tell them. Toller refused to meet his eyes. Miss Fenwick slammed her door. Only the boy listened. He said nothing, but drew another picture. This time the beast had eyes the color of a dying sun. That night, the church bell rang once, though no one pulled its rope.
So quoth this raven.
And that, my dears, was part 1. I shall get you part 2 post-haste. Well, next week. Anyway, enjoy your weekends, my lovelies. Bye-bye.
What? You're still here after the whole story? I really appreciate that, darlings. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And I always love to hear from you. Have a glorious day, my darlings.